single flame can light a million more.
Well, let's see here. We're outside today. So if the wind starts blowing, there's not a whole lot I can do about it. But I've been getting a lot of interesting comments. I put up a couple pictures of a battery bank that I was installing in this truck over here. And I think everybody was kind of interested about the mobile installation. So I thought I'd do old school versus newer school. And old school, this is a Lease Neville. This is a 300 amp. And then that's a Lease Neville 270. I'm going to be cutting away if people drive by and stuff. So hopefully the sound quality is good and there's not a lot of wind noise. I built both these brackets myself for these little Lease Nevilles. I would never do this again to a motor. I took the compressor for the air conditioner out. I'd never do that. Again, I would stack them out on this side of the truck if I was to have to do this over again, but I don't hardly ever use this truck. This is mine. This is my personal truck from back when I was actually doing the mobile stuff. I had another alternator that I hung down here. Then I had another one that was hung down here below this one. So I had 4 of them. I had 2 300s on this side. And then I had another 300 down there for 900 amps worth of generation. And I'm telling you, with all them alternators chooching along, this little small block 350 that's in this Chevy, I would get about 3.5, 4 miles to the gallon. So I'd go fill up, I'd put up all 4 of my antennas on this truck, and I'd go shoot out, or go play and shoot skip. Not shoot out, never shot out with this truck. Go shoot skip, and then about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, I'd have to fold everything back up, drive back to the gas station to fill the truck up. Now this truck is bonded just like this truck is bonded, and what I mean by bonded is everywhere on every single hinge there's ground braid that goes from joint to joint. The doors, the frame, the bed to the cab. I've got staggered bonds, and what I mean by that is frame to cab, I've got them every foot, and then on the opposite side, offset by 6 inches, I got every foot up and down, front to back, on this truck, a bond going either from the weld point pinch on the bottom of the frame to the frame to the body of the truck, the weld point pinch, or the pinch point on the body of the truck, up and down. I've got multiple pieces of 1/0 coming off the back in the bed. Oh, we're gonna get overflown by a jet. That won't affect us any. Anyhow, this is a complete sum system. I would never wire like I did this again. There's about, what? In this truck, I'd say about 130 feet of 1/0 gauge cable in this truck. But yeah, this started out as a stereo competition rig, and then when I got bored with that, I came back to playing with radio again. I've got 3 hobbies: stereos, CB, guns. Those are our hobbies. Anyhow, let's jump over to the truck real quick. Oh, real quick here. This is my little stereo system that's in this truck. That is a Crown 4-channel, 250 watts RMS per channel. And that does just my high ends, my tweeter and my, I think, 2 mid-ranges. That's the Crown A6000 GTI. That does, it's a 2-channel amplifier. It does 6,000 watts RMS per channel, 25,000 watts peak power. It consumes 900 amps worth of current at its full peak load. And then I've got 2 hawkers in here and then another 4 in the bed. And this truck has got a 6-inch lift on the bed just to make it ride stock height. Down here I've got 2 JBL GTI Mark, oh, those are Mark 1s. I think I burned up all my Mark 2s. And that's in a 12 cubic foot speaker box that is all made out of 1 1/2 inch MDF. And I did all of this. I did the entire install. All of this. And now the only thing I got in here for a radio is, well, ICOM 7000, which I never used this truck, so $1,200 radio. Just sitting here slowly rotting. All right, let's jump over to the other truck. Okay, so this is a Chevy K2500. I don't remember what year it is right off the top of my head. Anyhow, what we did is we added a MechMan 370 small case, high amperage output alternator. It's getting a little crowded underneath the hood. Just with all the new modern vehicles, you're running out of space. So with the increase in efficiency in diodes and their ability to be able to stack more windings inside the stator arm and the rectifier ring, they have really been able to step up the amperage on these puppies. Now it's 370 amps. There is a 12.5 foot run that goes from here at the alternator, and this goes across here and then instantly goes inside of a liquid tight tunnel. Oh, here comes a car, hold on. Like I was saying, is the positive lead comes off the alternator here and goes directly into a piece of liquid tight conduit. If you guys take anything away from this video, listen to me when I say this. If you are going to do an install like that one over there or this one over here, and you're going to run a positive lead, a big high amperage positive lead, 1, do not run it through a door. I hate seeing people do that with car stereo crap. If you're going to run it underneath the truck, you always put it inside of another piece of plastic tubing or conduit or something. I used liquid tight on this one, which is a gray rubber flexible piece of pipe. You never want to expose this wire to any kind of rub point, because this jacket's fairly soft and it's going to get warm, and the warmer it gets, the softer this jacket gets. If you can see, that liquid tight goes straight down, and if you see, it goes on the inside of the frame rail. Never, ever, 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 for any reason, ever run your 1/0 gauge cable on the outside of the frame rail of the truck. Always put it on the inside. Let me explain to you why. If you get in an accident and you get hit from the side, you do not want to pinch your 1/0 gauge cable between the body of the truck and the frame, because that frame will not bend. It might bend a little bit, but this sheet metal of the truck will act like a guillotine and cut that 1/0 gauge cable. Well, here comes another car. Hold on a second. All right, so one of my other neighbors decides they need to start up their car with their little friggin' bumble dick exhaust tube on the end of a rattle can. Let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, we were talking about the purpose behind the liquid tight tubing. The liquid tight tubing, or any kind of hard plastic sheath that you're going to run your wire from front to back through, is a rub guard. If you do not run your cable through a rub guard going from front to back, it is a matter of time until your truck catches on fire and burns to the ground. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of time. Biggest safety tip I can give you is always, and wire loom, the little shitty stuff that you buy at like AutoZone to go around the outside of, like this little black plastic shit, don't cut it, in my opinion. You want something much harder. On that truck over there, I have a piece of 3-inch semi-rigid flexible tubing, because I've got 3 pieces of 0 gauge that go to the bed of my truck. Okay, and what it ended up actually being was I had this old vacuum cleaner shop vac that had a 3-inch piece of hose on it and a hard plastic semi-flexible tubing. That's what I used on that truck. Over here we did the liquid tight, and you always run your positive wire on the inside of the frame. Always. And that's to help you from, if you do get in an accident, somebody pins into the side of the truck, it'll keep you from having a massive electrical fire. When you've got these big of cables going on, most guys, they don't want to do a fuse. They want to do a committed run. Like on this truck, the committed run comes back, comes up. Now, there's two different kinds of Heiko connectors. You got a Heiko connector that is just through a bare piece of metal. And then you got a Heiko connector like this that's got a sleeve on it that the Liquitite can slip onto. So it's fully guarded from front to back. And that's what we have going on here. These are the input runs from the alternator, which are committed. A lot of guys, they don't want to do a committed ground. They will do a split ground. And what I mean by that is, up here is they'll run a ground cable, well, not ground cable, directly from the source of generation, which is off the alternator, directly to the frame, and they'll call that sufficient. Me, we do both. One off the alternator, one from here, directly down to the frame rail on this side. Then off the frame rail on this side, we have another piece of oct gauge that goes around and goes to the frame rail on that side. Now, most modern cars are held together with a lot of glue, believe it or not. Door panels, hood panels, all that stuff is glue. Glue bonded together. Not a good electrical connection. Remember, in a mobile, you're basically driving around in a big loaded capacitor. So everything that you can bring up to the level of bonded ground, make them better. Now, Chevy's got this stock little poo butt braid bond going on here. Woefully inadequate for what we use for it. Way, way inadequate. Remember, RF likes to travel along long, wide, flat surfaces. RF bond, not an electrical bond. It is an electrical bond, but you have an RF connection. Long, flat, wide, flat. No round wire. Now, if you go and talk to Tech 9, he'll tell you it's round wire that it likes, and this braid is no good, but in a flexible joint, that's all you can really do that's going to last a long period of time. So yeah, let's go look at the rest of this son of a bitch. All right. One of my other neighbors decides they need to start up their car with their little friggin' bumble dick exhaust tube on the end of a rattle can. Let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, we were talking about the purpose behind the Liquitite tubing. The Liquitite tubing, or any kind of hard plastic sheath that you're going to run your wire from front to back through, is a rub guard. If you do not run your cable through a rub guard, going from front to back, it is a matter of time until your truck catches on fire and burns to the ground. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of time. Biggest safety tip I can give you is always, and wire loom, the little shitty stuff that you buy at like AutoZone to go around the outside of, like this little black plastic shit, don't cut it in my opinion. You want something much harder. On that truck over there, I have a piece of 3-inch semi-rigid flexible tubing, because I've got 3 pieces of oct gauge that go to the bed of my truck. Okay, and what it ended up actually being was I had this this old vacuum cleaner shop vac that had a 3-inch piece of hose on it and a hard plastic semi-flexible tubing. That's what I used on that truck. Over here we did the Liquitite, and you always run your positive wire on the inside of the frame. Always. And that's to help you from, if you do get in an accident, somebody pins into the side of the truck, it'll keep you from having a massive electrical fire. When you've got these big of cables going on, most guys, they don't want to do a fuse. They want to do a committed run. Like on this truck, the committed run comes back, comes up. Now, there's two different kinds of Heiko connectors. You got a Heiko connector that is just through a bare piece of metal. And then you got a Heiko connector like this that's got a sleeve on it that the Liquitite can slip onto. So it's fully guarded from front to back. And that's what we have going on here. These are the input runs from the alternator, which are committed. A lot of guys, they don't want to do a committed ground. They will do a split ground. And what I mean by that is, up here is they'll run a ground cable, well, not ground cable, directly from the source of generation, which is off the alternator, directly to the frame, and they'll call that sufficient. Me, we do both. One off the alternator, one from here, directly down to the frame rail on this side. Then off the frame rail on this side, we have another piece of oct gauge that goes around and goes to the frame rail on that side. Now, most modern cars are held together with a lot of glue, believe it or not. Door panels, hood panels, all that stuff is glue. Glue bonded together. Not a good electrical connection. Remember, in a mobile, you're basically driving around in a big loaded capacitor. So everything that you can bring up to the level of bonded ground, make them better. Now, Chevy's got this stock little poo butt braid bond going on here. Woefully inadequate for what we use for it. Way inadequate. Remember, RF likes to travel along long, wide, flat surfaces. RF bond, not an electrical bond. It is an electrical bond, but you have an RF connection. Long, flat, wide, flat. No round wire. Now, if you go and talk to Tech 9, he'll tell you it's round wire that it likes, and this braid is no good. But in a flexible joint, that's all you can really do that's going to last a long period of time. So yeah, let's go look at the rest of this son of a bitch. In here in the command console, we've got our remote box. We've got our external voltage control unit, which is a plug-in unit that comes from MechMan. These units work. They work really well. You literally dial up your voltage anywhere you want to set it. It will hold 15.2 under idle, and then you get over about a 280 amp load, and then you have to actually step on the gas and bring it up to about 1,000 RPMs, and then you get the full 370 worth of current. And we've taken this as high as 16.8. I don't see any reason to go any higher than that. We're just actually abusing the batteries at that point. We've got our Bird triple beam set up. Now this volt gauge here is actually attached to the inside of the amplifier. So on the inside of the amp, we know exactly what the voltage is, not at the alternator, not back at the battery bank, but what the amplifier is actually seeing. That should be your point of reference. And of course, we got our forward and reflect bird meters, which are mounted back there on the wall. And we'll get to that here in a minute. All right, let's go look in the bed. Comes through, comes up and you stagger your connections. So this is your positive bus rail, that's your negative bus rail. Well, your ground that you bring from your charge point, you hook up on the far opposite side to where you're going to hook up your charge point positive rail. That way the current pulls evenly across all three batteries. That's one school of thought. The other school of thought is that you make your feed points directly in the middle of the battery bank. I found for best charging and best discharging rate that you do cross feed, that way the current can be loaded. So, get a high down angle on it. These are incredibly high efficient, high pure lead batteries that don't vent, by the way. They have little vent caps on the top, but these are sealed. These are zero maintenance. The acid is suspended in paraffin wax in between the plates, or in some batteries it's a gel. This is a paraffin wax gel mix. The hotter these batteries get, the more efficient they become, the more current they can put out. That's the only reason they're not inside of a bed box. Part of the project that we've got left to do today is that we are going to build a plexiglass cover for the top of this to help guard it against having any metal objects fall on there and turn into, well, welding leads. Each one of these buses, we're going to build a little stand, and we'll put a plexiglass shield over the top that'll be suspended just above the top of the batteries. We'll put a 90-degree guard on the front and down here on the end, so if he goes and he does anything silly like stuff his antenna in the bed of his truck, nothing can come in here and short. It's the only thing we got left to do that, and we're going to change out this little ratchet strap. This is just to hold it in there for spacing. We had to go have one made. It's going to be 2.5 inches wide. It's a double layer, so it can help support the weight. That has also got like 6 washers on it, and then there's a piece of, I think, 1/4 inch thick strip plate that goes front to back from the edge of the bed back to about here to help hold the weight. So if he does get in an accident, this thing won't break free, and it's not going to pop up, and it's not going to short against anything, and cross your fingers, pray to God, will keep him from having an electrical fire. Now, let's go talk about this for a second. I put a single picture up of this last night on Facebook, and I had one guy proceed to tell me that his 30 or 20 year plus worth of install, he's never seen anybody do it like this. He feels that the conduit or the power should come up through the middle of the cab. Yeah, there's a yes and a no to that. The yes and no portion of that is that the positive and negative leads all run on the inside of the frame. And at the time, we did not know if we were going to take this back seat out and make a committed platform to hold the amplifiers or not. So we chose to bring it over the top of the frame for about 3.5, 4 inches. Right in here. Bring the power wire through. That's what we did. Anyhow, this is a second bond that goes directly to the frame. So we've got ground coming from the battery bank. Then we've got hot from the battery bank, hot from the battery bank. So we set this up for expansion. In the future, if he wants to, spend another $1,000, we could add 2 more of these batteries. Each one of these batteries is $493.50 a piece without a core. These things are insane. They'll spit out something like 23 or 2400 amps for the first 8 to 10 seconds. They have a huge outrush current ability, huge inrush current ability. They use 4 of these to run an Abrams tank, or 2 of these to run a Hummer. When they say mil spec, they mean mil spec. And that's the Hawker HASP-FT. Product number 9750N7025. Go look them up. Armor safe. This is exactly what our government and all of our military vehicles run on. These incredibly virgin-free, or virgin lead batteries. Beautiful, beautiful batteries. Like I said, I've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 in the bed, and 2 more here underneath in the cab. And they don't vent a lot of hydrogen. He came up here for us to complete this battery bank. I actually built this truck last summer. I went down to Texas and did an install on this. I think there's a video of this thing running. What did we have in there? 12 or 16 pill or something, and now we're getting ready to do a 24 or 32. He hasn't made up his mind yet. But between that alternator and this battery bank, it more than can handle it. Unless you have high crank output batteries like this, because remember the 2879 is a current driven device. It likes amperage. It's not a voltage driven device. It's not a MOSFET. Lots of amperage is what the 2879 likes. So he brought this up so we could replace the batteries, and then we had to do something with the alternator, and we changed that out too. And yep. We'll come back around to this. I want to go talk about the other side of the truck. Let's be right back. All right. So we're running RG217 on everything. Post amplifier. Now that's a little bit overkill. We just got the little 2x8 in here. But there's all our remote hookups. The reason I like these remotes with the mic plugs is because they can't pull out. You can't have an electrical fire from them. Where the little 1/4-inch RCA jack, you can. But just basic ground, basic 2-lead positive coming in with Anderson clips. Now each one of those posts can carry 150 amps. So there's a total of 300 amps consumption. If we wanted to, we'd have to go to bigger Anderson connectors to carry more current. Just a standard bird, 4 diverse. That's it. Let's go over here and talk about this. My mission today, after it cools off a little bit, is I need to change this puck out. We're going to go to a different style puck. Now this is a Breedlove mount. I really like Breedlove. He makes good stuff. Truck CB Sales, Brian Smith, my partner in crime, he sells Breedlove mounts. I was the one that turned him on to Mr. Breedlove. Good guy, just a machinist. He'll sit there and talk to you for hours about machine work, but if you try to talk to him about antennas, it just laugh at you and go, I don't know. Good guy. But when you're doing a lifted install like this, and what I mean by lifted install is that this is mounted on a box or like a tough box, grounding becomes a big issue because this is not the same potential as this in the truck. So to overcome that, you got to do an awful lot of grounding. Now, this bed cover is actually broken into 3 separate pieces. So now we're fighting the potential of this is a different ground level, this is a different ground potential, this is a different ground potential from this versus this is a different ground potential. Does that make sense? So how we overcome that is, like I said, we did a ton of bonding up and down both sides of the truck on the frame to either the cab or the bed. And then in versa, this plate is bonded here at the puck with 1/0 gauge cable, big and round. And we bring it back to the bolts, and coming off the bolts, we've got 1-inch wide ground braid going from here, this section of the tonneau cover, going underneath to this section of the tonneau cover. And versa. From here, it's kind of hard to see with the glare, bonded here, and then going down also to the bed rail. But that 1-inch ground here follows along, comes up, bonds on the inside of the frame here, the bed, up in here, and it comes along with the coax, goes down, comes out the bed, and goes down to the frame. Ground, 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 and ground. And the way my buddy Motormouth Mall put it, It's not a matter of how much positive lead you got, it's how much ground you've got and how well you can talk off of it. So now my mission today is to change out this Breedlove puck that we thought that was a stainless steel washer. I don't know how all this is going to come out with a glare because it's pretty bright out here, but that is not a stainless steel. It was mild steel and it ended up rusting. Even in the hot Texas weather, it started rusting. So we're going to go to this mount. I got these two mounts. I wanted to get all three of them out here so you could see that they've all got the universal quick disconnects on them that are made by Breedlove. This is the standard bottom. Man, that glare is bright. Coming off this all bright, or all polished diamond plate. Oof. That's the bottom side of the pucks. The Dave made puck slash X-Force pucks are about this big. The 55 pucks are about that big. The Gunny puck is about this big. And of course, the Breedlove puck is the biggest one that's on the market. That you know, the rest of these they'll come with a reinforcement plate. These do not. Of course, you can order them, but if you noticed when the deck of this was up, that this is fairly thick aluminum plate. That, and there's reinforcement ribs that are run every 6 inches on this deck. This tonneau cover is actually tough enough that 4 grown men can stand on it, or we could sit up on it like if we were in a NASCAR race or something. But that's what we're going to do today. So let me get these pucks off of here, and I wanted to talk about how I went about doing this. If you look, that 217 coax, look at how I have that made. That's 1.5 inch wide braid, and I took both the jackets of the 217 coax and folded it back, then very carefully soldered it, then created a sleeve with the 1.5 inch ground braid, soldered it to the shield, because you want to make that shield, that ground pigtail, as short as possible on the puck. Trust me, you'll find out when it comes to tuning the antenna. You don't want to have big long pigtails. You want to make these as short as you possibly can make them on your feed points. Hope that makes sense. I got another job where I got to do 217 again for a guy, a 200-foot roll for his house. I'll make sure to shoot a little video on that, on how to actually set up your pigtails, how to go about making this as clean and smooth and as neat and as nice as you can on the ground side. So you're not overcoming dissimilar metals, and you don't have to worry about corona. You want to use stainless steel on all your hardware down here. Focus, you fuck. And I avoided the temptation of doing an eyelet and just simply did a wrapped connection with multiple lock washers and flat washers on the feed point of the puck. And what I'm talking about is right here. The coax feeds in and then it tensions because of the direction of the screw point. Instead of using a flat eyelet and soldering it on, I don't have to worry about the solder ever getting hot at that connection, or the connection actually breaking. If I'm going to have a break, it's going to be the center conductor of the coax. And once again, our 1/0 gauge ground lead comes off to bondage strap, which another bondage strap, separate location, 1/0 gauge, all soldered, bonded, back here bonded, and then down to the frame bonded. That's how we did that. And then we've got another piece of 1/0 on the back plate back up in here that attaches to this portion of the deck and does the same thing. Each one of the joints have all got wrapped 1-inch bonded leads like this. And boy, this thing tuned out and just talks beautiful. So, well guys, that's it. I wanted to walk you through the little installation process. Hopefully you guys were able to take a little bit away from this. Any questions, give me a call. My name is BBI. Without a shadow of a doubt, I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. Come check us out, www.bbiamps.com. I do installs. I am not cheap, because I don't short step nothing, don't sidestep nothing, and try to do everything as best as I can, and that costs money. So if you want me to do an install, all you gotta do is bring me your truck. I got another one that I gotta do for a 50-volt mobile unit. It's gonna be in a Suburban that's coming up probably in a month for my buddy Zeke, who's been patiently waiting for time. I don't get to be here and do all this cool shit without all you guys. I appreciate your all support. We'll see ya. I'm gonna go inside where it's cool. Bye.